Hey guys, you like my new nightlight? We're just going to start off with this because I thought this was a really cool effect. I don't know how frightening this is. This is Mountain Dew Voodoo. That's what we're going to be tasting today. I'm a little scared because the last drink that I tried was heinous. There it is. That's what it looks like regular. Thanks, Wally. Wally coached me on thumbnails extensively, and probably for him a little repetitively. So, sorry, I had to put everything away. Today, we are going to talk about some great stuff. We're going to talk about enrichment, particularly in zoos, but this is something that's going to apply to you and your collection as well. So we can use these, hopefully use this information to put some enrichment into our animals. So that's something that's very dear to me in my setups. So I'm trying to look at which one I might have that has enrichment added to it. I don't really see a good thing right now, a good example. But we are working on some stuff. People are worried about Victor. Victor has a new job, so he's not going to be here that much, but he's in our hearts. So he's going to stay a mod. So we'll see what happens. Don's not here either, so we have no mods yet, but so mind your manners. So because I won't see it and I won't be able to kick you out. Manus God is here. Big ups to all of you guys, the audience. Big ups to Patreons. Our patron, I don't have that thing built yet, but our Patreon thermometer thing is growing. It's about this big. So I've got about $200 saved. That's not all from Patreon, but a nice amount of it is. So it's very nice to get those dollars. And that's going to be used to go to Utah. So hopefully it doesn't get postponed, but we'll see. We'll see how far we grow. Beetle Guy will be the fake mod. All right. And we got Manus God, Jedi Monkey. Everybody's good. So I'm going to bring Luke on. Luke has tasted this before. This is Luke Guzelis, who actually I saw at work yesterday. We got to see you at work yesterday, Luke.
Yes, I did.
Boop. Let's do that. Let's see. Which way am I going to be looking? I don't know. I'm just going to do this the whole time. What have you got? That was very blue.
It was, yes. So I don't know if you've ever heard of G Fuel before. It's basically like a powder.
Yeah, the Gatorade.
Kind of, sort of, not really Gatorade. It's more like an energy drink, like powder mix. Okay. This stuff actually isn't G Fuel. It's very similar though. It's called Ma, and it's just basically an energy drink powder you mix with water, and
it's called like, Ma.
Ma, yeah.
Because that's where you put it in your maw.
Yeah, there you go. Now you get it. I don't know. It's good. It's good. I mean, it does the job. I mean, this is like my second or third one today, so I'm powering through.
Apparently, it doesn't. You're hooked. All right, we're gonna do the smell test on this first. That is that's what immediately turned me off to Coke Dream. I know we didn't discuss this, and I know you don't watch the show very much, but I tried Coca-Cola Dream flavored, and it's horrible. I mentioned it to one of my groups, and they just questioned how I knew what this taste was, but it tastes like mangoes and jock straps. So, yeah, it's awful. It's awful. I mean, I guess I imagine, but college was a weird time. So, all right, here we go. It didn't bust like I wanted it to.
I'm excited to see your reaction. I personally
it's like a scented candle. It tastes kind of like it smells kind of like a pumpkin scented candle.
I did not get scented candle vibes. I'm not gonna lie.
This tastes like a pumpkin spice scented candle. Good Christ, let this not be pumpkin spice.
It's not pumpkin spice. No way.
All right, we're about to find out.
All right, what's the verdict?
It's sweet tart flavored. This is gonna be a rough one.
Yeah,
it tastes like sweet tart. This is like Red Bull. It's Mountain Dew's version of Red Bull, I think.
What did I get from it? I don't know if you ever had the Mountain Dew Voltage, but to me, it tasted like a sour Voltage.
I am one of the reasons that Voltage exists. So when they released Voltage, they released 3 flavors.
Yes, they did. I remember that.
Yeah, so you got to by sales, they decided which one was the winner. And so we had 12 cases of it in my basement, I think, at one point.
Oh my God, you bought that much?
We loved it. And so I was like, let's just buy a ton. And we had it forever. And now I can't drink it. Like, now I'm like, I'll get Code Red or something. That's fine. Yeah, Beetle Guy, I will always talk about that Coke Dream flavored. It's still on the shelves, but Mountain Dew Pineapple is gone. Like, what the hell? Mountain Dew Pineapple's delicious.
It was pretty good.
Delicious.
It was pretty good.
I would drink that out of a homeless person's sock. Like, it's that good. So.
Apparently.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff we say on this show. So Luke, I got to see you yesterday with the goats, or no, with the
parakeets.
Parakeets, which
all of our new budgies, yes.
I'm not gonna lie, they kind of sucked. So
they were not eating.
No.
Yeah, they were.
You said they were like full and scared. There were about 1 million people in there.
There were, yes. Yesterday was pretty crazy. I don't know if you know this as well, but this has been probably the first week since we reopened the aviary because we got almost 500 more in. So a lot of those budgies are still, yes, exactly. They're still really young. They're still trying to kind of figure out how to eat from the seed sticks. So it's not just you. They have been doing it to kind of everybody, and people have been like, "Oh, why aren't they coming down to eat?" Blah blah blah. So it's been kind of it's been a time.
Okay, all right. Well, they'll figure it out. If the other ones did too.
Yeah, exactly. It's sooner or later, but it'll probably take a little bit of time. Uh-oh. Was that supposed to happen?
Sorry, there's a button.
Oh my god, you left me.
There's a button on my mouse that is like the back button, and it kicked me right out. It like hit the.
I got so scared. I was just like, "Oh my god, he abandoned me." I'm gonna have to host.
You're on your own.
Yeah,
I'll send you the questions. I'll send you the questions via text. I was trying to click on Wally's comment. Wally said that if I who's this hard pill to swallow is here. What the hell, man? All right. I can't. Everybody keeps putting in comments, and I can't get to it. Beetle Guy's mad that I'm back. He wants to run the show. If you blow chunks and we come back, we're yours. Well, he's got it. I haven't thrown up on the show yet, but I think if I got Coke Dream and the vegan beef jerky or turkey jerky, I would absolutely throw up on this show. Whether I wanted to. Yeah. It would be voluntary. It would just be like, get this out of my body right now. So Luke works at Brookfield Zoo. You're working on your master's right now?
Yeah. So school-wise, yeah, I'm working on my master's. Pretty much in biology, just with kind of like a environmental conservation focus.
Okay.
So I'm doing that, and yeah, I'm right now I'm a seasonal keeper over at Brookfield in the kind of like the children's zoo, petting zoo type section areas. So work with a variety of animals, like we were talking about the parakeets, the budgies. You got goats, reindeer. There's a red panda. So
you said you were doing behind the scenes stuff yesterday. We just happened to catch you. So what does that mean? What is behind the scenes at the children's zoo?
That's basically just all of like our like kind of like day-to-day servicing. So whether it's like getting food prep ready or cleaning enclosures. In the morning, like for like a lot of like the public stuff, like that big public section in the aviary that everyone goes into, like obviously we get there early before it opens to hose that down. But once that's done and it's open, we have like enclosures like off exhibit 2. So usually that's kind of during that point of the day, and we'll go and kind of clean those and get those ready. And like I was saying,
like hunker down. That's where the animals like hunker down overnight or during inclement weather.
Kind of, sorta. So like, during like the weather too. Obviously, it's a shelter for that. But like if we need to shift them in for whatever reason, like for example, in the aviary in the morning, we practice shifting all of those birds into the indoor enclosure. Just because I think the main reason for that is we have a big aviary shutdown in February. And that's when we collect every single bird, like almost all 1,000 of them, do, individual wellness exams on them and everything. So we just kind of shift them in to kind of make sure that behavior is fresh. And when that time does come, it's, we're not out there with like a bunch of nests trying to catch like 1,000 birds or whatever it is.
So you do individual wellness checks on the 1,000 birds?
That only happens once a year. Otherwise, we kind of treat all those birds. Yeah, it's pretty rough, but obviously you got to do it. But otherwise, yeah, we kind of treat it more as a flock. So like we'll catch, like X amount of birds per day and kind of like examine those birds, do beak and nail trims, whatnot. But it's not like we're checking on every single bird every single day. It's just it wouldn't work. So in an ideal world it would, because obviously you want to give them all that attention, but
right, that'd be 6 full-time jobs.
Yeah, yes it would. But yeah,
I can't imagine that working.
Yeah, but I mean, more or less, it's just kind of what I do in those areas. A lot of, obviously, with the children's zoo, it's a lot of like public interaction too. So that's why they also had me standing out there to make sure that nobody's chasing the animals or doing things they're not supposed to. So that's my public
Letting
interaction.
Their kids stand on the railing.
Yeah,
so in this aviary, that's guys, it's huge. It's this big room. It's probably like 100 or 150 feet long. Probably like 30 feet deep. So there's this wall that kind of like snakes around, and it's, I don't know, it's like 2 feet tall maybe. And you can sit there. Yeah. You can sit there and get the birds, and you're supposed to keep your feet on the, the person side, the guest, the visitor side, and then keep everybody kind of chill. So there's a million people in there, and I guess my daughter want to stand up because she likes to walk on railings right now. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't think about it. So Luke, this was after we already saw Luke, and Luke comes over and he's like, hey man, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm making everybody make their kids sit down. So if your kid stands up, they're all going to stand up. And I was right away like, oh, no worries, man. That's cool. And this was all after I had like a verbal confrontation with one of the guys, like directing traffic outside in the south lot. So we always park at the south lot at the zoo. And I know none of you guys are familiar with Brookfield Zoo watching this right now. Like Luke and I are the only ones. South lot is smaller. You walk right in. If you go to the north lot, it's like acres of gravel parking lot. And then you have to walk all the way up to the kiosks, get your tickets, walk through this stupid tunnel across the street, and then up to the zoo entrance. And to be honest, there's nothing over there. There's no animals over there. Like you come in the south gate and it's just, you're spoiled for choice. So we usually do like, we hook left right there and go to like the alligator, where they have the swamp, and then they've got that like reptile bird house, whatever. So anyway, we're getting in there. The parking lot's full. It was jam-packed yesterday. The zoo was crazy. This guy's directing traffic. And when the main lot is full in the south lot, they direct you in to park at this like high school. You park in their baseball field, essentially. So I was like prepared to do that. So my wife had a stroke. She can't really walk that well. So for that long. So I let her out. And this kid directing traffic is like, hey man, this isn't a drop-off point. And I'm like, well, it is today, buddy. Sorry. So I drop her off. And I don't know this, but he's going to make me take this access road all the way over by the north gate to like the employee lot. So I drove all the way over there, and I was like, I just left my wife at the other end of the zoo. This is going to be a nightmare. So we got in, and I hauled ass back to the south end to get to my wife, and she's there almost crying because this guy was giving her such a hard time. So I give her my daughter and tell her, like, take care of the bathroom, get some ice cream. And I hauled outside, and I just gave this guy like a browbeating. It was bad. So, and he's like, they have real police here at the zoo. And I was like, if they want to come for me yelling at you, that's fine. But we'll have that conversation with police here, I guess. So that's how I started my day at the zoo. I don't normally have confrontations there, but that was my lucky day.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, some of those traffic people or whoever they are, the park safety or whatever, they're a little particular.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not impressed by your smock at all, buddy.
Nah.
You had the safety day glow smock in the middle of the day. And I usually try to respect those guys, their job, is thankless. But anyway, that was my enrichment for the day.
Good enrichment. Yeah, got me stimulated.
Yeah. That and like making fun of the other people walking around mostly. Because I've seen everything at the zoo a million times. Now we're going to talk about enrichment. So I think the Children's Zoo is a good spot to talk about that because you almost have to have it because the guests want to see the animals doing things. They're right there. They get some hands-on time. I will say if you play it's alpacas you guys have there, right? Is it alpacas or llamas?
Llamas. We used to have alpacas and llamas, but now we just got llamas.
If you play the llama alarm call like they would do in the wild, your llamas they're very alert. If you
I
play it
bet
on
they
your
are.
phone, they're like, "What's going down?"
Those guys they're
I'm
busy,
that guy.
busybodies. They are busybodies. Cinnamon and Lucy. They're a lot of fun though, but they are definitely busybodies.
Is
So
there a
I'm not.
reason they're not petting zoo anymore? Like in the old one, I don't know if you ever were at the old one before they redid it. You
Mhm.
could reach them like through their pen or whatever. Um, and then they kind of like they're kind of off on their own a little bit in the corner.
Yeah. So
That's
the
probably not the
reason
same ones. Yeah.
exactly they're not in an ideal world. We would kind of had the same thing. You know, those llamas would be like really chill and be like, oh yeah, come pet us. But unfortunately for our two llamas, they are, and I guess always have been, a little bit skittish to the point
Okay.
where a lot of that contact with petting, even for us, we can't like really touch them or anything. They just get freaked out.
Okay.
Not that they would do
Okay.
anything, but they get stressed, hyperventilating, start running around, especially Lucy. She is definitely kind of a scaredy cat.
And that's
So,
not good for them. I understand that. Like that's about the
mm,
animal more than the people.
right.
Like, what's a llama gonna do? Like spit at you? Like that's about all they would do.
Yeah, I mean, and they they still try that too sometimes, even if people are still over there and just like yelling at them or messing with them. Like Cinnamon especially, she definitely is spit on some guests before. So, but
I've seen
yeah,
so many great things happen at that zoo. Like, uh, I've had some amazing times. I've been a member since 1996. So I've been there probably 30 or 40 times a year since 1996. So
jeez.
yeah, we go up all the time. But they definitely, even the llamas have different things in their enclosure, and you guys change it up to where
Mhm.
they have different things to engage and
Yeah,
to interact with. So, and I love that because the zoos are just, oh, Don's here. Good. We do have a mod. Because they're stuck. You know what I mean? Like they're in an enclosure. It's the same thing every day. They start to get real kind of you want to mentally engage them.
exactly right.
Do you,
And that's a big important thing that we do, honestly. And like you were kind of saying at the beginning, obviously we do it as a zoo, but like even for like pets or any other animals that anybody might be kind of managing or taking care of, or just under professional care, as we're supposed to say. But for any of that stuff, enrichment is like really vital. No matter what kind it is, and I don't know how in depth you kind of want me to go on like the different
let's go
types.
deep. Let's go deep,
Yeah,
bro.
what the end goal is.
Give these
But
people a taste. Give them a slice of this
yeah,
pie.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely one of our bigger major responsibilities. I would say is making sure that all of our animals, even like the reptiles, are the ones that aren't the most what do I want to say, cognizant. Not like
Okay.
lemurs, the primates, or anything. Even those, we still make sure they have some sort of enrichment. But yeah. I mean, I guess you guys are probably already aware, but as a zoo, or as AZA, whatever, might try to define enrichment, it's basically anything that would serve to kind of maximize the care that the animals are getting, their ultimate welfare, taking into account factors like their individual biology, their evolutionary history, all that kind of stuff. And there's different categories of enrichment and ways we can kind of go about addressing that. I think it's generally kind of broken down into five, which would be, what is it? Physical, sensory, so like kind of like smell, taste, all that stuff. Nutritional, so obviously like food. Social, whether there's like companions or like other animals that the animals can access or interact with or even see. And then puzzle enrichment, which would kind of be just like for a way the animal to kind of engage its brain and like kind of work something out in order to get a reward. And yeah, at the zoo, we try to employ all five of those on a daily basis, depending on the animal or other animals that are a little bit less demanding in terms of those. Sometimes, like each day, like one day we might do a nutritional enrichment, the next day we might do sensory. So and like I said, it kind of takes into account that animal's specific biology, its history, all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, and are you guys like taking notes on, okay, Cinnamon likes this as a treat for her nutritional enrichment, and Lucy can figure out like there's something under this bowl. You know, she'll kick this bowl over to get a treat or whatever. Like, do they still do the little shows almost in the children's zoo where they bring out one of the times I was there last year, I think, or it was either last year or it was pre-COVID. They had the big African porcupines there, or one of them, and he was coming out of a carrier, and then they were doing like 3-card monte. So they had like 3 shells, and they had a treat under one, and he just, boom, every time picked the right one because of his sense of smell, right?
Yep.
But I know that's an enrichment thing to get them to play the games. It's not just for us. Like,
it's
fun for them. It's something to engage them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that right there is definitely one of our stars. That was Norman, our Cape Porcupine, and everybody loves him because when we do like chats with him, like you experienced, we're kind of able to put on that show for people to kind of see, and then we can explain, all right, well, this is how good a sense of smell is. Like he knows each time where this treat is buried. But in doing that, not only, you know, guest engagement, they get to see that, they get to kind of learn about it, but it's stimulating for the animal as well. You know, we're taking him to a new environment outside of his typical enclosure. So sensory enrichment right there, change of environment. And then, you know, the puzzles, you know, we're kind of hiding a treat, and he's got to figure out where it is. And then once he does, that's how he gets that treat. So even when we take the animals out for chats like that and do stuff like that, you know, it's a form of enrichment too, sometimes combining those multiple categories. So
I almost miss I miss a lot of the old setup because there were a lot more animals there. There was a lot more to see, kind of like you didn't have the hands-on with as many things, but they had this little, like, it's almost like a barn that you sat around this big circle, and there were all these like cages behind them, which probably weren't the best for the animals, but they would have, like, say, a ball python or a chicken or something that they could just pull out and be like, hey, armadillo. I'm like, hey, this is so-and-so. She's our animal ambassador as an armadillo. Who wants to pet her? And, you know, every kid there is like, oh my God. But yeah, their little cages, they were just like, I don't know, like a chicken wire and wood situation, like a box, essentially. And I think that was in the era before enrichment, like mental enrichment and all of that. Like they were like, oh, they have food, they have shelter, and we're good. That used to be like all they assumed they needed. So like you'll see the old school zoos where it's just like they're on a concrete block with the iron bars. You know, it's sad. But they've come such a long way. Like it's come such a long way, even since before you were born, I think. So it's really good to see, and it's really good to talk to somebody who's got the hands-on experience. So, what do you think? Like, you have more large animals where you're at, right? Like the reindeer I saw they had like this pool, and I was really excited that it was just brand new fresh water. Basically, we were there at like 1:00, and then they had a big tub of food they were getting into, and we noticed that they kind of like one would be eating, and then another one would come up, and that first one would just kind of like, oh, okay, cool, it's your turn. Because you guys have like what, 6 reindeer?
7.
Okay. I don't know. They were all like laying down. My wife was like, why don't they let us pet the reindeer? And I was like, do you want to get stabbed in the head with those horns on accident?
Yeah, gored, right?
Their horns look deadly.
Yeah, they're fortunately they're really docile, but yeah, I'll be in there sometimes, you know, like feeding them out or whatever, and of course they get so excited about the food and they're just like bumping into me with the horns. I'm just like, geez, dude, you know, I can't afford to get gored by you right now. It's like, I don't
right. I feel like if they turn their head too hard, like you'd get it. It would be a bad situation.
Yeah,
if you were in the way when they just turn their head.
Definitely, it definitely potentially can be.
Yeah, but they seem pretty chill. I like to see them in the winter because they're more active. A lot of the animals that you have at Brookfield are just more active in the winter. And I notice how I'm that guy that's been at the zoo so many times. I feel like I should be an employee. Like people should come to me. I feel bad for the docents when they're there and I'm there because I am answering the questions for them, kind of, or like actually. Yeah, this animal's 12 years old because that's how long he's been here. Yeah, I don't mean to be that way, but I have to do it. So, yeah, I'm the know-it-all. The antlers? Not horns. Yeah, they are antlers, I guess. Sorry, they are antlers. Beetle guy is there to help out. What was I saying? So we've been there a million times, seen the animals. So not last winter, a couple winters ago, there was a blizzard while we were there because I love going those days because nobody's there.
Exactly.
It's like your zoo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just go and there's no one there, and the people that are there just want to hang out. They just want to talk to you a little bit, so you get to like have conversations that you just don't get when it's busy. But we were throwing snowballs to the grizzly bears, and the one, or the Kodiaks, I guess, the one was loving it. He was like chasing them or like looking for them, and he couldn't. It was like doing it for a dog. Like the snowball just went into the snow on his side. So apparently we kind of got him riled up because he went to try to wrestle his brother. Like he saw his brother get up and he just charged him. And I've never seen that behavior there before. And the brother was just like, nah. He was like, bro, I just woke up. What's your deal? But we were throwing them to the seals. The sea lions were catching them. We just had a blast. And it wasn't, I don't do that stuff when there's other people around because I don't want to encourage people that don't know any better. Not that I'm an expert, but I don't want to keep people that don't know any better would try to maybe hurt the animal or would be afraid and have that reaction. But that kind of stuff is a lot of fun for me, and I feel like for the animal too. Like they wouldn't keep doing it if it wasn't engaging for them, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and they have every animal there has hands-on with their trainers, so they're not like averse to human interaction. But I mean, if you're at the zoo, I don't recommend you do that. I'm not saying do that, but I'm still going to keep doing it. So it is kind of awesome.
I'm not saying anything.
You probably shouldn't. I'm that guy that I try not, like I said, I try not to do those things when there's other people there.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
if I get a chance to touch a rhino, I'm touching that rhino. Yeah, you kick me out if you want, but I touched a rhino. Which isn't a big deal for zookeepers. You guys take it for granted, but I don't earn that. I just take that right. But like, what are some of the other enrichment things that you guys will get back to you, the guest?
Yeah.
And not my dumb Brookfield Zoo stories. What are some of the enrichment things that you guys give? Like, what have been some, even since you've been there, what have been some like almost, I guess, breakthroughs that you've had to see or to offer to the animals that are, do they take input from new guys like you or?
Yes and no. So they are kind of, when it comes to like incorporating new enrichment stuff, like as opposed to like the stuff that's already like kind of like approved. It is kind of a long process because it does have to go through like I don't even know who to like make sure that it's safe. Definitely people outside of my interactions with, I guess. So which I get. I mean, it's got to be kind of, obviously we want to make sure we are giving them, stuff that is safe for the animals, going to cause any harm to them. But it definitely is also kind of a process. So at least since I've been there, I don't want to say I've noticed like any like major new breakthroughs or like anything new that has emerged. But I mean, there still are like, obviously we have a lot at our disposal and like a lot of stuff that we could use to like kind of like keep it up, even like seasonally. Like obviously in the summer, as we incorporate like a lot of the ice treat stuff.
Yeah, those have been great. Those have been great, like 5-gallon buckets or whatever, frozen with treats in it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
We use, like especially like the reindeer too, because obviously the summer's not their favorite season, so they go nuts for the ice treats. We have like little sprinklers too, so like we'll kind of like run sprinklers for them. Obviously, they get a chance to cool off. Even the wallabies, they like to jump through the sprinklers and everything.
They have an area now, guys, where it's like a big field. It's this big fenced-in area where the wallabies are just loose, and ideally, they would come up to you and let you pet them. I've never seen them off the fence line. Like they're deep in the area where you aren't allowed to go. So I don't see that changing anytime soon either. Like they are just like, no thanks. Even when I'm there alone, they're just like, we're good, bro.
Yeah, and that's just kind of in their nature. Because I get asked that a lot too. It's just like, why can't we pet them? Like, why aren't they coming over? And I'm just like, well, they are prey animals, and it is their nature just to be kind of a little bit more cautious and want to keep to themselves. Like even in the wild, like they'll kind of come together in like a mob like that for a lot of times during like the mating season, the breeding season. And sometimes they'll stick that way too, and they do get along, but it's also not unusual for wallabies to also like live a solitary existence for them to like kind of live on their own. So they're not exceedingly social creatures. Now we did have an exception because I want to say November 2020. That's when we had the 3 Joeys basically, and for one of them, Whitney, her mom was kind of a little sick at the time. I forget what exactly was wrong with her. She unfortunately did pass away since then, but it wasn't from that. I think she had like some kind of abscess going on, and for whatever reason, I don't know. Whatever she'd had going on with her, she wasn't taking the best care of the Joey. So that Joey actually, I wasn't there at the time, but that Joey became kind of a hand-raised project for a lot of the zookeepers. So
that's what I was saying.
So Whitney was actually hand-raised. She was, kind of taken from that. They had an artificial pouch for her and everything, bottle fed, all of that. Because of that, as she was growing up, she was really, really chill with people. And she was very used to people because of that. So she was actually one, when she was first introduced to that mob, she was curious. So she actually would go up to people and then like people could pet her on the back. But nowadays, as she's been getting older, she's been kind of acting more like a wallaby, and she really doesn't do that as much anymore.
I'm gonna have to look out for her because it's so frustrating. I want them to come up so bad, and they just are like, nah. Even when there's no one, especially when there's no one there. Like I get when there's a crowd of kids, and kids are the X factor. Like you don't know what they're gonna do. Like you see them in the eating areas, like chasing a goose or trying to tackle a peacock or whatever. And it's like, hey, like I'll yell at someone else's kids at the zoo. I'll be like, knock it off.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Trust me, because that's so frustrating. And that's the thing. Like you have these kids, they don't know any better. Some of them are really, really young, but it's just like we can't have them, terrorizing the animals either. So
yeah, I get like personally upset. Like, hey, this is my Zen place. You need to chill, bro.
Yeah. For sure.
We got our first question here, our first official question. Besides Green Jedi Monkey saying the animals are judging me, which is probably true, to be fair.
But yeah, no. I see that Beetle guy. What animals do you give enrichment to that would surprise most people? Honestly, I would say people are probably more surprised by the reptiles. Because even we'll give them enrichment too. And like I said, they obviously aren't as God, I don't want to say like, I really don't want to use the word cognizant because like obviously they're there, they're sentient and everything, but they're no primates. They're not necessarily like gonna be figuring out puzzles and like need like a super duper amount of stimulation. But we still give them enrichment. Obviously for theirs, a lot of it's more like a lot of like the physical stuff, like hides, places to climb on, stuff to interact like that. But we'll also obviously employ like some sensory stuff too. Like we'll give them different scents. For like a lot of the geckos, the snakes even. We'll just kind of like throw stuff that like safe scents in there, like some spices.
Oh really?
Yeah, I remember one of the keepers was even using like a little bit of like laundry lint. And I was like, that's kind of clever. They even do okay with it. I don't know how much they actually use it or get enjoyment out of it, but it's there.
I feel like it's probably harder to judge their reaction too, like because they don't react like a mammal or even a bird. Their reaction is different, but to see them use it would probably be enough for me to be able to say like, okay, cool, they like that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, I don't feel like they enjoy things as much. Maybe some of the bigger tortoises, but I feel like it would be difficult to judge that reaction from a reptile.
It is for most of them. It definitely is. Like you were saying, like stuff like the hides or stuff to climb on. If you see it under a hide, if you see it like kind of climbing on something, I mean, it's doing pretty good. But tortoises, that's actually interesting you bring that up too. Because believe it or not, you might have seen videos on this, and you guys might already know, but they do seem to really enjoy getting their little back of their shell scratched. And I do it with my
or their neck.
Yeah, they'll actually like rub into it. Like sometimes if you even take a toothbrush or something.
Like I've seen the Galapagos tortoises or like the big sulcatas. Like stretch way out if you're scratching, and they're like, oh, that's it, bro. Because they can't get that spot. Imagine having that an itch and you can't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we have of course a goofy question from Jedi Monkey, but
invertebrate enrichment. Now, that is one that I don't have as much experience with, despite owning a lot of invertebrates. Well, I guess I shouldn't say I don't have experience with it. I guess it's a little bit more difficult. Like little basketballs is I do like that idea, but obviously, inverts, we're talking, well, obviously, like, your primates and mammals, and we go down to reptiles, a little bit less interactive with stuff. And then we go down to inverts, which a lot of them don't even have a brain. They have like a bundle of nerves, like a ganglion. So gauging their reactions and uses to enrichment, at least kind of from what I've seen, is definitely a little bit more difficult. But, that's still not to say, that's something you should like use or experiment with. I feel like a lot of their enjoyment, additional shelters, things to climb onto, obviously. Even like switching up like food enrichment, like for your isopods, whatever it might be. Isopods are nice, being the detritivores, they'll, kind of garbage cans. I remember that one time on the show, you tried feeding them a hot dog. There you go, something new in the diets. And little treats like that too. Obviously not the main part of their diet, but it's something different for them. I mean, who are we to say whether
that was Podsgiving? I think Wally gave his hot dogs. We had a little plate we made. They put different food items on there to see what they would go to.
Yeah,
that was a fun episode. We were just talking about that last week, but that was a really fun one. So each of us, it was me, Wally, and Russ. Wally from Supreme Gecko / Isopod, and Russ from. This is such a good cookie. Russ from Aquarimax Pets. So we each had a different plate that we gave a group of isopods. We had, I think, 3 or 4 different species in there, and watched their reaction. We had cameras on them basically the whole time. And now I'm thinking, like, what would you give to your isopods? And he said little basketballs. I was thinking of a bead. Like, my daughter has all these little beads. And stuffing something in there, like, I don't know, something that they might eat, like make a paste out of shrimp. Or shrimp paste. Just buy shrimp paste or anchovy paste. Put it in the middle and watch them go. Like put them on a paper plate and just watch them go, trying to get it or whatever. That'd be kind of fun to watch on the show.
Yeah, and that's also a really good idea too, though. Like even just like making it a little bit more challenging for them to get their food. I mean, that's the puzzle enrichment right there. Like you think of like puzzle enrichments, you think of a lot of like the actual like feeder puzzles too, or like the animal are like manipulating it. But obviously, like an invert's probably not going to do that. But like you were saying, like even if you have like a little bee and you stuff it with it, it's got to crawl into a little hole to get it. It's something different than it literally just being presented in front of its face. So
I'm not going to say that they enjoy it. I don't know. I'm not an isopod, but I would enjoy watching that behavior, watch them like meet that challenge. But I've seen so many cool enrichment things at different zoos. Like I'll watch specials or YouTube videos like, hey, we're at this zoo, blah, blah, blah. Like Fiona the hippo. I think I've watched 47 hours of her life on repeat, essentially. Baby hippos got to be one of the cutest friggin' animals.
They are pretty cute
on the planet, right?
I agree. Yes.
They have everything you like about a baby, and they could eat a whole watermelon. So, like, they have those fat leg rolls and the big rolls on their hips and the adorable face, and their mom can murder you.
Great, amazing stuff all around.
Yeah, so like a trailer baby, kind of. Those are some murdering ass moms. But no offense, ladies. That's you. But I've seen them give them enrichment, like hippos, pachyderms. They've had great enrichment. I don't know if you saw the videos. You probably have seen it, where they have the pachyderm that paints, the elephant that does paints, and I think that's unbelievable. They have one that they bring like pianist or a horn player in to play music for them, and they're just like, oh, like you can see it in their face, like they love it. Yeah. But then you have like there was a zoo in Britain. I was talking to the keepers at the stupid Brookfield, and they blew me off. They were like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, I almost grabbed him, like, no, seriously, man, you should do this. So they gave him like basketball-sized pumpkins because it was Halloween or whatever. They had pumpkins everywhere. So they gave them to the lions, and you wouldn't think to give pumpkins to a lion. So these lions, there were like 3 or 4 of them in this enclosure, and they're smacking these pumpkins around. They're bringing them around with them. The one had it like adopted as a baby. It just wouldn't let it go. And they were clearly like totally enjoying these pumpkins. Like they were running around. They're doing stuff. It was awesome. And I was like, if it's that simple, Brookfield should have something like that. And then I was like, when they ignored me, I was like, I should go get some pumpkins and just chuck them in here. Like just like shot put the pumpkins in. Because they're not going to eat them. It's not going to hurt them, but they will destroy them. They will destroy them, but.
No, I mean, that's funny you bring it up too, because I don't know what department those keepers you're talking to, but around the season and at least in our department we use pumpkins for enrichment. I know they just posted something with PJ, the baby porcupine, the prehensile tail, and like she was like crawling in like a little pumpkin that one of our keepers carved. I remember when I was
lemurs. Is that what you said? One of the lemurs?
No, one of the keepers carved it, but it was for our porcupine, the
okay.
PJ, the little prehensile tail porcupine.
I've seen the videos of him. I haven't seen him on display. Where's he at? What?
So that's the thing. They used to, the PTs used to be on display in Hamel, the actual children's zoo, but they took them off display after Lucia had the baby. So now they're like the ambassador animals off display, but they'll still bring them out for like chats and everything. But they're not on exhibit right now.
Okay. Do they still do the chats in that one building that used to be the reptile building across from the? They have like the small reptiles and the birds in that one building over by the south gate.
Yeah, which I don't think they really, at least our department, I don't think really does chats in there.
Okay, so they used to once in a while they'd have like a snake or a couple snakes, and they'd be asking the kids questions or whatever, and let you pet them. Like I definitely want to pet that porcupine. But
oh yeah.
If you guys haven't seen prehensile tail porcupines, like look one up. Like they're the cutest. They're big, ridiculous nose.
Yes, they do.
And they, oh my god, they're so adorable. And they're I think that's it that they keep showing. Like Barney, I think is his name.
Well, we don't know what name
is. That the man?
No, Eddie.
Am I frozen?
You are frozen, yes. Now I think you're moving.
And I just love they show the enrichment they do for him all the time, or for them all the time on their little Facebook page. And I think that's great. Like their Facebook page got them through the COVID. Like it was every day they had updates from different animals. So I think that's really cool to display like off-season stuff or off-exhibit for the animals. Because were you working there when they had the birds? They would have like the falcons and stuff outside. They would have them fly around and do a bird show.
Yeah, I know they used to do that. I know they used to have Saguaro on the Dolphin show doing that. But oh wait, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was not there for that.
It'd be like in the back of Tropic World. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was just talking with one of the keepers there about that. I know it was a couple of years ago. It sounded so cool, but I was not there for that.
So you guys, so it's this outdoor thing. They have this thing displayed, and at some point they would have all the birds like coming in and out all these little doors, and they had like ravens and guinea hens and all these like pretty smart birds, some parrots, and then they would have like a crow or a raven that would fly and get dollar bills out of your hand, and then he'd put them in this charity thing, like they were fundraiser thing. So whatever bill you had, it would fly up, land on your arm, grab the bill, and fly back. I think there were 2 or 3 ravens. So then they had raptors there. So they had a great horned owl the time that I went. And I was blowing off the show. I was like, no, I'm not going to this. And so I finally sat down to watch it. And they bring out the great horned owl and they let him go to go get something. He just takes off. Like he's gone. He just took off on the horizon. And there's people, they're all the zoo staff just running after him on their radios. They got him back. But
oh my god, thank God.
Dude, he was just like, I'm out. And the look on the girl's face that like let him go was like, oh geez. Like he was just like, I live here now. I live in Illinois. He was gone. Guinea hens are very annoying. Yeah. I think they still have them at Brookfield, but I haven't seen them.
They're walking around. Yeah, they still have them.
When it's busy, they just kind of like hunker down. They don't come out really. Do you guys do enrichment for those guys too, or do they just kind of find it on their own, like the live? They've got geese and peacocks and the guinea hens
too. Yeah, so
I know around loose.
Yes, I know the bird department is the one that actually manages them. But to my knowledge, yes, they do have like obviously they're running around loose, but they also have like shelters they could go to, and I believe they kind of focus the enrichment around that area. But I know they are also they do get obviously daily enrichment for them too. So.
I imagine like interacting or just watching the humans. That's got to be kind of entertaining for them.
Yeah, sensory right there.
Sure. Yeah, right. I remember they used to have that big goofy pool that they have in the middle with the pelicans now.
Yeah.
This big stone pool. They used to have like 60 flamingos in there. It was like this huge flock of flamingos that just stayed there for some reason. I don't know if they clipped their wings or what.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember hearing about that too.
Yeah, then they moved them to Lincoln Park Zoo, and I haven't seen them. I don't know if they all died off or if they gave them to another zoo or whatever. But it was good. It was good for them. But back to enrichment. Sorry. I think a lot of the enrichment for like the lower animals, like reptiles and the invertebrates, could be summed up in like just changing their enclosure around. So it's like there's a new area for them. Mm-hmm. Is that something that they...
Yeah, that's definitely one of it too. Like I said, I think the categories that would probably be like more like you were saying, like giving them like different things to climb on, changing their enclosure up, kind of like the physical enrichment in that aspect, as well as the nutritional as well, like kind of like giving them like different food stuff to experiment with. Those are the categories they're probably going to use the most out of. Like sensory, I mean, you might be able to get away with like some stuff like sense, but like you're the same like playing music for like the pachyderms and stuff. I don't think I don't think you could really serenade your tarantula or your isopods, but I mean, you never know. You never know, like seriously. But
play them some metal, see what happens, guys.
I mean, that's what I do, you know, when I'm you know, messing around with mine, you know, feeding them, changing their water, you know, obviously I'm blasting my music and they don't really seem to react to it. So
they don't care. They don't care at all. Maybe they are. They're like, yeah,
like head banging. So I mean,
I like this. I knew somebody would call me out on it. One of my 4 viewers right now would call me out.
Yeah, on the lower animal. Yeah, I was like, hey, I didn't say you said it, not me. See, I was.
Man, just look at your evolutionary chart. You got like, you know, there's some that jump around over their little tier. But, you know, you've got like, what, mammals, birds, I don't know what's next. Reptiles, probably.
Yeah, reptilians,
then you're getting into your invertebrates, fish, all that.
Yeah,
there's some that jump, like octopus, cuttlefish. They jump, you know, they're mollusks, but they're way above, you know, toddlers almost. So
yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works sometimes, too. Like with those mollusks, those alien creatures, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I like those theories that they're not even from here because they're so different than anything else on the planet. But yeah, I would consider them lower animals, even though we discerned that one could throw its peen into the ocean and it would just swim out to look for, like the arm would just swim away looking for a female. So, and it could live like 3 weeks. Yeah, that's research right there, buddy. I did a whole episode on the weirdest penises in the animal kingdom. 10 weirdest.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was my choice. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. What did you decide was the weirdest?
That was the weirdest. The one where it was I think it was a cuttlefish. It was like a nautilus. So there's a species of nautilus. It tears, you know, like a lot of the mollusks like that, the decapods or octopods, they can tear their arm off, which is their penis essentially. And like a lot of octopus, there's a couple octopus species that will throw it at the female because they don't want to get eaten. Because a lot of times the female will just eat them right away after mating. So they just they rip their penis off and throw it at her like, this is for you. So this nautilus takes it a step further. So it rips it off and throws it. But this thing is like its own organism. Like it swims off and it follows scents or pheromones or something. It didn't say in the research I did. I'm assuming it's pheromones, but it finds the female and does the job. But it's like, he just is like, see ya, and then he's out. He just does his own thing. So for decades, after they found this thing swimming around, they thought it was a creature. They thought it was its own creature. And then someone either observed it or they did DNA tests. It wasn't clear how they found out it was like, no, this is part of this thing. So that was the weirdest one. Yeah, we had some honorable mentions too, but that was by far the weirdest one I could think of. Like who just...
That's really cool.
Because trying to do that from like a human perspective, trying to imagine that from a human perspective, like you walk into a nightclub, just like a grenade. Like, good luck, buddy. Right?
Do a nightclub. I love how it's got to be a nightclub.
I mean, that's where you're going to hook up with randoms anyway. So,
oh, yeah. No.
You know, just hope for the best. That's literally hoping for the best. Like, oh, here you go, grenade. Nautilus kind of makes sense. It's kind of like a snail. Yeah, snails have love darts. Yeah, we did. There's a bunch of sea slugs actually that stab each other. And the first one to get stabbed is the lady. That's how they figure that out.
See, that one I did know about. But that Nautilus one, that is probably one of the coolest things I've heard in a very long time.
You're gonna have to go back and watch that episode. There's some wild stuff in that episode. We discovered some crazy ways. I want to do mating rituals next because I think that's cool. Do you guys use any of that? Like, I noticed there's a lot of like male animals at Brookfield Zoo. Like the sloth bears are both male, the grizzlies are male. They do mix up the polar bears. I think they have a male and a female right now. I loved that they had for a while as Enrichment. They had an old male, and they hooked him up with like a young female to be in his enclosure with him as Enrichment. Like if you have an old dog and you get a puppy, it shaves years off your dog. Like your dog becomes young again almost. So you're like your 15-year-old dog will now act like when he was 10. So that really helped out that male polar bear. Like he's died since then, but he was old. Like he was an ancient polar bear. Speaking of which, this is the can I see it? This is the female that I'm talking about. This is her. I don't remember her name, but I took that picture, you guys. It's not a grizzly bear like some people think.
I don't know who would think that.
Colorblind people, apparently.
Don't call me out like that.
He's a zookeeper, guys. He's going to be a zookeeper. I got in the wrong business. I will say, I used to think that a lot of your job was rough, like shoveling the crap and all of that. But then I went to the restaurant thing at the zoo, and those guys, I would rather scoop poop all day long than do. Those 100%. Guys were in the trenches. That was 100%. Crazy. Dude, 100%. And I will tell you, though, at Brookfield Zoo, I don't know if they take care of their people or what, but everyone there was, like, dedicated. Like, they were doing their job. They weren't crying about it. They were just – and they were getting hammered. And they just were there. They were knocking it out, doing the best they could. No nonsense. So those kids – I always find, like, fast food kids and stuff now anywhere else are, like giving you the finger as you pay for their food. They're like, yeah, whatever. So, but these guys were just crushing it.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I mean, even amongst where we work, obviously, it is a good place. They do take care of you. Everybody's really motivated, dedicated to what they're doing. So it's good. Even the, food workers are like that too. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. The only enrichment I think I have hands-on with is the pinnipeds, the walruses specifically that they had years ago. So I worked there when I was 20. I worked in food service there at the zoo, at the one that was by the bears, the old bears. So way back, this is 28 years ago. It was almost 30 years ago. But I would go early and then I would stay late because we could kind of stay out as long as you want. You could hang out and walk around as long as you wanted there, as long as you had your ID and your uniform on. So I would do that every day. No girlfriend at the time, so I had plenty of free time. But I would go on the underwater viewing with the walruses, and there was one that he would literally play hide and seek. So they have these, you guys don't know, but in underwater viewing, they have it set up like kind of like you're in Alaska almost. It's all big wood like logs. Everything's kind of made logs and big planks. And so there's planks where the glass panels meet. So there's these big wooden planks. They're fake, I think. But anyway, they're about this wide. And this walrus, which was way wider than that, he'd put his face behind this plank. And then he'd peek out. And then I'd look like I saw him, and he'd put his face back. And then he'd slap the glass where I slapped the glass. And we would do this every day for like a month. We would do this for about a half an hour. And so one day I went on my lunch break, and the keepers came down. They're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm playing with my walrus friend." Well, they were trying to get him to come up for food. And like it was his feeding time. And he wouldn't. Like they couldn't figure out why he wouldn't come up. He just was. But that's enrichment. Like that's enrichment for him. Clearly he was enjoying himself. And it was more than a food response for him. So, no, there's 4 people here, Beetle. So I felt involved. And so I got to feed him. I actually got to go behind the scenes and feed him myself. And that was awesome. It wasn't that day. But I can tell you, if you don't know, walruses have the worst breath.
Dude, I'm not surprised.
Dude, it's awful. It's awful. So I was like, oh yeah, okay, here you go, bud. But yeah, that got me. I was able to do that. So I've got some great experiences there, even as an employee, just beyond flipping burgers or whatever, you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Seriously, I always wish I got to kind of like meet the walruses. I know they don't have them anymore, but I heard stories, and that's just another one to add. That they seem pretty freaking cool.
Olga was there when I was a kid. I was little when Olga was still there. She was like, for a while, she was the largest walrus on record. Jeez. And I don't know if that's because they didn't know enough not to feed her a ton, but she was. Have you seen the statue over there of Olga?
Yes. Okay, that's her. Okay, I've seen that statue. Massive.
Yeah, she is just gelatinous, like literally Jabba the Hutt. She's literally like that scale. It's for real, right? That statue's like Jabba the Hutt size.
Yeah, I mean, resembles it, that's for sure.
You could absolutely fit 3 midgets in there, in that statue, which is Jabba the Hutt. So 3 midgets were inside of Jabba the Hutt. So she has that scale. But imagine her in an inner tube, which I don't know how she ever got into it. She would sit in an inner tube and just bob along. And as a kid, even, it was so funny. Just rolls after roll after roll. But I feel like those guys, the dolphins, they always had enrichment, and they definitely have it more now. But they're the more intelligent, like you can tell. Well, I mean, there's plenty of animals there that are intelligent, but like the bear enrichment now, they have the modular kind of setup where they would go behind the scenes, and then they can switch out which enclosure they can go to. Right. That they have access to. So then they switch that up to them like once a month or something. They give them a different one. So that right there is engaging, right, for them?
It is, yeah, absolutely. Giving them that, like, even like just giving the animal like the ability to make a choice like that, like you were saying, that's, you know, that is engaging to it. You know, you're working its brain. So
wait, this is the one I wanted. Yeah, I like that a lot because it gives them something else. The old bear thing was nice, but this is a different level. I wish they would do more on that side, like where the children's zoo is, because there's not a lot there to see.
Yeah,
and like I said, the children's zoo is not as exciting anymore. Like I was thrilled to see the red panda, because he was out and just being adorable. But my daughter was like, "Daddy, no one gives a shit about this red panda. Like, why are you even here?" Yeah, she's 4, and she was just like, you saw her. She was like, "This is the dumbest thing ever," and she was in love with the parakeets that didn't even come near us. So.
Nice.
Hey, Guy Bob knows about walrus breath. We're gonna have to talk to Guy Bob at some time. Well, he's a lurker, maybe not. I feel enriched, Jedi Monkey. This show is so enriching for me.
Enriching, yes.
But I will say that Brookfield Zoo has come a long way, and they were one of the pioneers, because like now it's old and kind of shitty, but the Tropic World was revolutionary when it was built, but unfortunately they took so long to build it. By the time they were done, it was like old. It was like, thanks for trying, but now we have better stuff already. We already have better stuff than this. But it's literally like an airplane hangar with 3 sections. So for you guys, there's 3 sections. There's Africa, Asia, and South America, I think.
Yep.
So not in it's in reverse order. So it's you walk in South America, then Asia, then Africa, and so you have I don't even remember what's in South America.
A lot of like the tamarins. You got the gibbons, I think.
The gibbon. No, the gibbons are in Asia with the orangutans.
Are they really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the male, this is more enrichment. Like they've taken upon themselves. Primates find their own enrichment. But they love their frozen treats too, the orangutans and the gibbons especially. So the gibbons, guys, there's this tree section that's like these fake trees, and that's the gibbons. They're kind of like down. And then there's this like mountain thing where the orangutans are. They're supposed to be separate. Well, the male gibbon, he's still there. He's figured out how to get to the orangutan section, and he steals their food. Like he's fast, so he steals their food. And I didn't believe it. There was a docent there telling me about it one time. And so the next time we were there, we saw him on the mountain. And I was like, how does he get down? And so the orangutan mom, because it was her and the baby out, came flying over to get him. I've never seen them move faster than like, hey, we're basically primate turtles. So the gibbon comes flying off that mountain. He's just in the air. And he hooks that tree and he's swinging like crazy. But I was like, he's dead. He just jumped off this mountain. Because the mountain top on this thing is like 60 feet above the ground. So I was like, that gibbon is dead. Even if he falls in this 2-foot deep water, he's gone. And he, at the last second, just snagged the end of this fake branch and was just like swinging. And he's got like an apple in his mouth that he just stole from the orangutans.
Nice. Got away.
And I was like, what a jerk, man. Another enrichment thing, I think this might qualify. So I saw prostitution in birds. They gave the roadrunners frozen mice or thawed mice, and the male walked over to the female, gave her his mouse, and then she assumed a position, and he mounted up while she ate the mouse. I mean, that's prostitution, right? That's enrichment.
Sounds like it to me, but I mean, yeah, that's enrichment, man.
See?
I mean, natural behavior. They're engaging natural behaviors. They had the choice to engage those natural behaviors, and clearly they're enjoying themselves. So
I thought it was hilarious. He's just like, "Hey, sweetie, you want to get this?" And she's like, "Nah. How about for this mouse?" Nah. And she was down. She was like, "All right, here you go."
Man.
What are some things that you guys have seen or you've seen in your? Oh, I got an ant. Okay. That you guys have seen in the children's zoo that were you there since the renovation or did you come after the renovation?
So I started working there definitely after the renovation. I feel like I was taken there as a small child, but for like the original children's zoo, but then yeah, after the renovation is when I kind of like was a little bit more cognizant. So like I've heard stories of the old children's zoo with like the pigs and everything.
Yeah, it was a farm. It was essentially a farm, and then they had like a barn with like fish tanks and stuff, and you could watch them milk a cow or pet guinea pigs or whatever. It was definitely more hands-on, but that was before kids. I feel like parents don't give a shit anymore, and the kids are just kind of like free range.
Yeah,
they do whatever they want. Yeah, and if they mess something up, the parents don't yell at them; they yell at the zoo for allowing it to happen. There's very little like accountability for parents anymore, which blows my mind. I don't know, but I feel like they still had some enrichment there, but it was just like they were barn animals. They were in a barn situation, so it wasn't like it was a farm. It wasn't like, oh hey, we gave them this, we gave the pigs. These pigs are super smart.
Oh yeah,
but they weren't really giving the pigs anything. They didn't have like a ball or anything. Like you see some of the animals now with the big hard plastic balls. I think the rhinos have them right now. But you didn't see any of that. It was geared more for the visitors, enrichment. Yeah, I will talk about it on the internet. I will talk about what the prostitution that happens in the aviary. There are some areas there too that I wish they would just renovate. Like they took out the Baboon Island, which was just stabbed me in the heart.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember the Baboon Island going there as younger.
So, but they had enrichment for them, kind of. They would hide food items, which I like. They find different feeders, like you're saying, like puzzles for them to solve. But then they try to make it look more natural, so it's not just like a box with different size holes in it or something that they have to figure out how to get this food out. It's like it looks like a wasp nest or something that they would engage with in the wild, but it's not. It's like peanut butter inside it instead of honey or something.
Yeah.
Or grubs. But and you're saying that they give them like different types of food. Like, is there any kind of enrichment? Like you're with the parakeets all the time. Is there something special you guys do for them behind the scenes, or?
So as far as the parakeets go, those are another one where, at least from kind of what we think and what we've observed, they get the most enjoyment. They're a big flock, so I mean. And they have like places to hide to and all that stuff. So they seem to get the most enjoyment out of a lot of like food enrichments, like the nutritional stuff. So typically during the day, we'll give them like kind of like a different treat. And we've given them quite a variety of stuff. I mean, obviously like different seeds, like sunflower seeds. We've given them popcorn. We've given them like
Oh, that's
macaroni.
great.
Yeah, and like they go at it, like spinach, like the greens and everything. It's like really funny when we give them the greens because then the next day, you see their little faces and they're like all stained like green. I'm just like, so funny. But,
that would be, I would freak out if I saw that. If I went there and I saw that, I would probably be like, "What in the hell are they doing to these guys?"
Yeah. Well, the first time I seen it, I was like, "What the heck happened?" But then it's like, "Oh yeah, we gave them spinach." I was like, "Oh, that's fine." But yeah, even before too, like I was saying with the pumpkins, I remember when I was an intern, even because I interned in that department too. We got like a bunch of pumpkins, and I carved like a bunch of like random shapes in one of them, like stars, hearts, whatever, squares. And we put the pumpkins out. It was funny. They were like crawling inside the pumpkins, like ripping out all the guts and seeds and stuff. They definitely had a good time with that. So
I think that's awesome too, because they would eat the inside. I'm sure they would eat the pumpkin like meat as well, right?
Yep, they do. Yeah, they do, exactly. So not only do they get to like
So
kind of
cool.
explore the cavities, but yeah, they're also eating the pumpkin. So, and that's the best kind too. If like you could find ways to, like kind of combine the different enrichment categories.
And that kind of would show how confident they are for them to go into something. Because that's not natural for a bird, especially a prey bird, to go into a thing where it can't like just get out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely have to feel like really, really safe to do that. Like obviously they do have like nesting cavities and stuff, but right, they're not gonna go in there unless they do feel really safe. So like yeah, like on the busy days, where all the children are running and screaming, that's when they're gonna be sitting together kind of like in a bigger flock to make themselves look imposing. Yeah. But yeah, when they're calm, like you go in that aviary like early in the morning or like on like a really dead day, that's when they like really start coming down, walking on the guest side, like kind of exploring everything around the aviary, and it's really cool to see. So
the Navy brought their dolphins to my area for training and for building up their fat layer. Well, the dolphins took off for a few weeks. I think he's AWOL. So now, funny story too, Guy Bob. So I joined the Navy at 22 for that specific reason. So my recruiter told me all about this program where they were training seals and dolphins, and they would take a diver down to find bombs. Like the dolphin or the seal would find the bomb, and then they would come back up and get their trainer to come down. So you would be dual trained. So you would be trained to deal with the dolphin or the seal. That would be like your animal. And then kind of like a police dog or partner, as I was looking at it. And then you had to be able to disarm bombs underwater. So like dual training, like real dangerous stuff. So when I got to basic, the guy there for like, okay, what are you here for? What's your job going to be? And I'm like telling him like, this is what I want to do. And he's like, there's no dolphins or seals. Like, what are you, crazy? So I was pissed, but I was already there. It was already a basic. Long story short, my lung collapsed in the second week of basic. And so I got a medical discharge. So, because I could not be a diver after that. They were like, no, I have a thing where my, like, my lungs are too short for my body. So my diaphragm pulls on them really, really hard when I'm going all out or whatever. So, yeah, so it collapsed. It stressed my lung and collapsed it. So can't be a diver with that. I still dive, but yeah, anyway. That was the thing there. But I was going to work with seals and dolphins to disarm bombs.
That would have been cool.
As crazy as that sounds. Yeah, so they bring you down there, then they take off, you disarm the bomb, and then you call them back to come get you because it's like way faster. So, yep, that was part of our deal. Real Navy SEALs. I would say him leaving is probably a mix of AWOL and enrichment.
It's exploring something out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dolphins were on the list of our weird animal stuff. They were on the list of the top 10, mostly because of their habits. But yeah, they were on the top 10. Because you don't think about them having a doink like us, but they kind of do. Like, you don't think about it.
I've seen that episode.
Sleek. You saw that episode of what? King of the
Hill? Yeah.
I wish that was like a unique thing. Like, that's not even made up. They just... put that on Hank. Like, people get molested by dolphins. It's just crazy. So now these your parakeets, because I don't know if you spent that much time with them, but that's the only place I've seen you at in the zoo. The parakeets, do they breed there? Are they like a breeding colony too behind the scenes?
We do a little bit of breeding behind the scenes seasonally, but not with the whole flock. So we actually just finished doing it over the spring. But we pretty much take aside like about 30 or so, and then we move them off scenes. Because the entire flock won't breed, I guess, unless you like actively facilitate it by giving them like specific nesting boxes.
Okay.
That actually kind of activates the breeding mode. So we don't have to worry about it with the entire flock. But yeah, for the ones we take off exhibit, we'll take off like some really like, obviously healthy, robust ones, like really, really plump ones.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we kind of use for breeding. So and then I mean they go at it. We hatch I think what we were doing is we get the actual eggs and then we give them to the bird department to hatch. And then they'll kind of bring back for the flock. So
that's kind of awesome. And I feel like hand raising them is a good thing for that, to keep them like, oh, humans aren't bad.
Yes, for sure.
Because I was like, with the wallabies, I was telling my wife, she's like, how are they ever going to get them to be, more comfortable with humans? And I was like, well, it's either going to be a generational thing, like we won't see it for like 10 years, where we won't get to pet one for another 10 years, or they could take the babies early and hand raise them. So, but I was like, I don't know how cool the zoo would be with that anymore. I feel like 20 years ago, Brookfield Zoo would be like, get them babies. We need to get this to be an attraction. Let's make some money. But I don't think their goal is not that anymore. Their goal is to see more natural behaviors. And you want to see, like, you'll see a wallaby in there with a baby hanging out from time to time. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of the kangaroos, where the kangaroos are at.
No, we did have a wallaby baby actually pretty recently. He was definitely a pretty good star, but no, that's exactly it. We really only do the hand raising as a last resort. Like I said, they hand raised Whitney because her mom just wasn't taking super good care of her, so that's why they chose to do that.
Sure.
But otherwise, yeah, like with this most recent baby we had, we just let it do its thing with its moms, because we kind of want to keep as many of those natural behaviors as possible. Like it is really cool, obviously, to be able to like pet a wallaby and all that, but it's not a priority at all. We want to have the animals engaging as many natural behaviors as possible and be comfortable with that. So
I feel like they're way cooler to pet than a kangaroo. Like I've pet a lot of animals. I've handled a lot of animals in my life, and wallaby's one of them, but not at Brookfield. But they kind of are a mix between, like, they almost feel like sheep, like wool almost.
They're really soft.
Whereas like a kangaroo is like more like a Labrador. Like they kind of have that like short dog hair kind of. But yeah, the hand reared animals, they had you've been in Australia House with the free flying bats?
Yep.
So now they have a net there. Is that right? Do they still have the net there?
Do. Yeah, last time I checked.
Can't. So that's from people too. That's people ruin that. So they used to fly free. They just were there, and they would hang on the little railing there. They would hang on the rocks above your head. They would be all over the place, these bats, and they just swoop by you. And they're the big flying fox style bats. So they had one that was hand reared. And again, I go when there's nobody there. I prefer to go when there's no one there. So we were there. It was just me and my friend. And one was above the door. Well, I'm 6'4". I pulled my hat off and I put my hat up right by him. And I went real slow and he wasn't moving. I was like, if he gets disturbed at all, I'll stop. So he wasn't moving. And then I got my hat up to where it was almost touching him. And I was like, I'm just going to let him touch my hat. Like, that's all I want. He climbs into my hat before I can do anything. Like, he just climbed in. And I'm like, oh, God. And so I'm on the other side of this door, and there's a keeper on the other side. So I did not intend this to happen. So now he's climbing on my arm. Like, he's kind of hanging off my arm. And I'm just like excited and terrified at the same time. Because I'm like, I don't know what their reaction is. I'm totally stock still. And the keeper is like, what do you got there? And I was like, I don't know. It's just me and my friend in there. There's no other people. And she's like, is that a bat? I'm like, I guess. Yeah. She's like, what did you do? I said, I just offered him the opportunity to climb on my arm, and he did. And she's like, you're not supposed to do that. I was like, I'm not going to stop. He's on me. He can choose when he leaves. I'm just going to sit here stock still. So she came in to kind of get him off, and he would not leave. Like, he was not down. But she got him off and explained that he was hand reared, or she was hand reared. And because she was like, what color are the bands on his arm? And I literally lifted the wing a little bit, and they were on the little extender finger, the thumb, I guess. There were two bands there. I'll never forget. It was baby blue over pink. And she's like, oh yeah, that's so and so. She was hand reared, and so after that, she was in her own thing behind. Like she was the next time I saw her, she was not allowed to engage with people at all. You couldn't get close to her, and I felt really bad. But at the same time, like maybe I saved her from an encounter with somebody that would freak out and hurt.
Right, absolutely.
So yeah, Jedi, that's my thing. Like I don't stop. Like I'll get stopped by a keeper. We were in the okapis. If you guys don't know where the okapi is, it's like a giraffe and a zebra had a baby, and they live in the forest. They're very rare. They're very endangered. They're big. It's like a big ass horse, basically that size. And I can reach into their cage, like their indoor thing. I can reach in there. So one was right up against the bars, and I'm not recommending you guys do this. Don't do what I do. So I'm petting it, and it felt like velvet. Like it was the most amazing thing. So you haven't even done that, and you work there, right, Luke?
Yeah, I've never touched it.
Better than you. So, so I reached in there and I pet it. And so it was just me and my wife there. And she's like, I hate you because I can't even reach. And I was like, sorry. I said, I can't even lift you to get you in there because I'm weak. But we came in like a couple months later and it was just us again. And the okapi was there again, but it wasn't as close. So I'm reaching through and I'm like, come on, come on, come over here. And the keeper is there feeding another animal. I'm like behind her back, kind of. The little diker, the little mini antelope, like the little tiny antelopes, which I've pet too. So they keep putting up these barriers, and I feel like a lot of them are my fault. So the keeper's like, hey, are you supposed to be doing that? And I was like, what? And I'm still reaching. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not doing anything. And she's like, what if that thing bites your finger off? And I was like, A, it's an herbivore. I don't think it's going to do that. And it's like daily interaction with humans. I don't think that's possible. But B, what an awesome story that would be. Like, everyone would ask you, how do you lose your finger? Oh, the rarest animals in the jungle bit it off. What? That's a great. Am I there? Can you see me?
Yes, kind of, sort of.
Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes.
That's a free beer store. You're getting beer from that. Am I froze? Can you see me? Okay, you can kind of hear me?
I can hear you, but...
Okay, as long as you can hear me, I think we're good.
Yeah. Oh, you're starting to move again. Kind of, sort of.
Is it choppy? I'm going to reload. I'll be right back. You talk about enrichment.
Enrichment, yes, of course. Yeah. Enrichment's pretty cool. That's my, that's the takeaway from today's lesson, I suppose. But,
did you talk about enrichment while I was gone, or did you just sit there?
No, I did. I said enrichment was pretty cool, and that's the takeaway from today. And everybody seemed to
they get it.
Yeah,
got all four of them. They all came last week for the 100th episode, so I knew tonight was going to be kind of like small audience, but they'll watch it tomorrow. That's when I'll get everybody. You will be seen, I promise. So now your degree, you're not going for anything specific zoo, right? You're going for conservation. Is that, or are you going to use that in the zoo, like breeding programs and stuff?
I ideally would like to use that like into the zoo because I do like the zoo a lot. Like, and obviously I like animal care. It's probably one of my like greatest passions, I guess. So it's a field I want to stay into for sure. So ideally, I would like to kind of like advance further into that, like eventually like to be a part of like some of the captive breeding stuff, especially for like a lot of the endangered species or some of the more what I want to say, animals of greater concern, I guess, that like really need it.
Yeah, that absolutely
for sure. So,
and I mean, people are doing that in their own collections right now. Like, as far as conservation, like there are citizen science people that are breeding to hypothetically put them back in the wild. So critically endangered species. So that's a great goal. I think that's a great goal. And then you'll be involved in their enrichment too. So
yeah, that's honestly the end goal for a lot of that stuff. So hopefully it goes through.
So now, while we're still here, what is your favorite animal? Like, what is one of your favorite top animals that you would love to work with, like a dream species?
The tuatara, hands down.
The one that's it's basically an iguana with a third eye. Is that it? Or
pretty much,
kind of.
Yeah, it's It's a reptile. It's not a lizard. It looks just like a lizard, but it's in its own class, right?
It's all by itself, right? It doesn't have any like direct relatives.
Correct. Yeah. I think there's only 2 living species right now still, and they're both on New Zealand. They are vulnerable too. I think there's only 2 zoos in the US with them. Toledo was one of them. I seen it at the Toledo Zoo and it was amazing. I think San Diego has them too, but I know they're trying to do some captive breeding with that. So one day that would be amazing animal to work with. I think they're really, really cool, really unique.
Why Tuatara? Yeah, like why specifically? I know they're unique because there's only like 2 species, but why them specifically? I've never heard anybody mention them before, so it's a little wild.
Like I feel like they're really, really overlooked. I don't know. Like I guess I do really just appreciate the uniqueness. The fact that it's its own, it's its own order. It's not a lizard, even though everybody thinks it is. Just cool facts about them. I mean, from where they come from, typically like the hot temperature it is only like in the 60s. So I want to say they actually have one of the lowest metabolic rates of any reptile. They don't live quite as long as turtles and tortoises, but I think they can live into their hundreds still. So it's pretty impressive.
And they're not that big, right?
They're not. They're only like 2-3 feet in that range. So they're not super big either. But really interesting.
I thought they were like, they're kind of like frill dragon size, right? About that size.
Yeah, give or take. Definitely smaller than an iguana. Maybe a little bit bigger than frill dragon, but they're nothing super big or anything like that. But they take a long time to reach sexual maturity, if I remember correctly. I could be off the marker here, but I want to say it almost takes like 20 years for them to get.
If you know different and you're in the audience, leave a comment because
yes, please do. If
you're probably not one of the 4 people that are here. I don't want to misjudge my 4 audience members right now, but
yes,
leave a thing in the comment if you know more about tuataras. So
yeah, very interesting though.
I like the fact that that third eye actually kind of functions like it functions like a primitive eye where they can see like light and dark.
It is, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, other reptiles have that too. A lot of lizards do actually, that parietal eye, but tuataras, it's really prominent in them. So
yeah,
cool thing.
I didn't know other lizards had it.
They do, awesome. Yeah. Other reptiles will have it, but like I said, I think it's quite a bit actually. Like I want to say even like stuff like bearded dragons have a kind of a rudimentary, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I know other reptiles definitely do have it. So
I think it's so awesome. I think there's just so much cool stuff. I was not in a million years expecting you to say tuatara. I was hoping you said parakeets. I was like, parakeets are my shit.
Out of the animals I work with, parakeets are definitely among my favorite. I will say that.
Wow. All right.
I love them. Yeah, they're. I actually do work with them a fair amount. Like we have different runs at the zoo, and the run that I'm typically helping out in and on is the one with the parakeets. So
that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty close with working with them.
Do you have do you know your favorite one? Do you have do you have like one that comes to you?
I don't, unfortunately.
It'd be great if there was one because they're all banded, right? They all have ID bands on them.
They do, yes.
Yeah, so I thought so. Okay, so you would know. You'd be like, "This is Jim."
Yeah, I wish, but yeah, they're very not particularly bonded with anybody. I'm not gonna lie. They like to get their food off the sticks, and then that's all they care about.
Those stupid sticks. I hate paying for them. So thankfully, Luke was there. He just went over and grabbed us a couple, and then we wound up giving them to other kids. Like, no, feel free. You can waste your time. Even if I paid for them, I probably would have given them away. But I think we were there like a half an hour, and not a bird came to anyone while we were there. Yeah. There were 1,000 screaming kids in that building. Like the birds weren't coming. Like you're absolutely right. That wasn't going to happen. And they have food that isn't the sticks, so they could just go to those food stations and eat if they wanted. Now, have you gotten? This will be the last thing I ask you. Have you gotten to work with the red panda because he is my all-time favorite animal that's been at Brookfield Zoo?
Oh yeah, like I said, the run that I mostly work with is it's called PAW. It's Panda Aviary Wallabies. So I do work with Leo a lot. Yes.
What's his name?
Leo,
and it was 2 in there, wasn't it?
There was. The second one was before my time. I think they've transferred him to a different zoo, but we are getting a second red panda. I want to say next year. And the end goal is to do some breeding with them. So it's going to be a female companion for him.
Oh, that's going to be great. Leo, like he was just laying on the tree up at the top, and he had his head turned around. And so my wife, I love when this stuff happens. Like it had nothing to do with me, but she's like, get him to look at us. And I was like, hey, red panda, what are you doing? And he literally like turned his head back to look at us. He just had his little head down on the thing. And I got a couple shots. I'll have to put him up. But he did. He turned around and looked at us. And my wife looked at me like, how do you do that? And I was like, it wasn't me. He just decided to turn around at the same moment that I yelled at him. So yelling is a strong word. But yeah, he was pretty awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen red pandas, but Google that stuff because top 5 cutest animal on the planet.
They're very cute.
Now they have, I was reading the little signage outside. I thought they were basically related to raccoons and giant pandas, but they're not. It says.
Nope, they're in their own thing. Yeah, they're very.
They're kind of like the Tataras. Like there's no real relative.
Yeah, it's pretty similar actually. Like no pretty recent, at least extant common ancestors. So they're also a pretty unique animal too.
So you got to get into those instead of Tataras. Tatara's not going to get you any chicks. The chicks that Tatara's going to get you are going to be weird. But you're kind of weird.
That's what I'm all for. You know that.
If you guys can imagine you go to the zoo, the children's zoo, and let's say you're asking questions about the goats. Let's say you're talking with the goats, and they have all these brushes for the goats. You can brush them down, and the goats love it. And the keeper that's walking around to answer questions is Luke. Now, you can't see it here. Luke has 2 lip piercings. His nose is pierced. He hasn't been picking his nose the whole episode. He's playing with his nose ring. He's got dark black fingernails. And probably has tattoos. You would assume he has tattoos.
Yeah. I got a couple.
All right, but you can't really see him. He's in his khaki shirt.
Yeah.
Probably pierced nipples. We're not going to get into that, but but that's the guy explaining ghosts to your kid, and like, there's no part of me that cares about that at all. But watching the other people there, and so yeah, we see him stalking in the back of the parakeet enclosure, just like eyeball the parents keep their kids under wraps. And I know that's what you were doing, right? You're watching the parents and the kids, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Of course. So he's walking up and down, he's pacing up and down, and he's like kind of hunched and just side-eyeing people. It was so funny. I was like, wife, that's Luke. And then I don't know how you heard me because, like I said, there were 1,000 people and screaming kids and birds, and you couldn't hear yourself. So I was just like, Luke! And he turned and looked for your face for a second was like, who? Oh yeah, Josh said he was coming. So over you came. But like, you're kind of like hunched and just chilling. Like maybe you had earbuds in and you were listening to Skrillex.
Not Skrillex, but I definitely was listening to some.
So ska. I would assume you're into ska, but that's me.
Actually, not really. Just metal, a lot of metal.
I made up the ska thing. I just totally made that up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you're into ska. All right, it didn't cross my mind. I just tried to be ridiculous. Where's my mouse? So yeah, I told my wife, I was like, wife, that's Luke. Which I don't know how she heard me. But yeah, that's who. I imagine there's parents that give you the weirdest looks in the world when you're trying.
Sometimes they do, yeah. Sometimes they do too. Like I'm kind of surprised too that the zoo's just like, you can have facial piercings, you can have as many tattoos as you want. It doesn't matter. You just gotta tuck your shirt in. It's fine. I'm just like, oh, yeah.
That's their cutoff. That's their cutoff.
No, the cutoff too is because I used to wear the baseball cap too, and like I like to wear them backwards too. And I got yelled at for that. But I can still wear my beanie even in the summer, so now that's what I do.
Can you wear the Brookfield Zoo cap? Can you wear that while you're there? Because I know they have.
Yeah, it has to be like the Brookfield Zoo cap, but like I said, it has to be like forward because I got yelled at because like I was wearing it back. I'm like, you can't do that. I was like, all right, well, I'll just wear my beanie in the summer then, and that's what I did, and that was fine too.
Okay.
Yeah, shirt has to be tucked in too, but that's the cutoff. I could still have my black nails, my piercings,
whatever you want, crazy rings.
Yeah. I kind of want to see how much I could get away with, not gonna lie. Like I definitely do want some more facial piercings. But
wait till you're indispensable, because I don't want to be able to go there and you're not there.
Wait till once I'm definitely cemented, that's when I'll get the go crazy with everything like that.
Yeah, face tattoos. Like
oh yeah.
Like those guys. This is my opinion. If you have face tattoos, like you have a job where they don't give a shit that you have face tattoos, or you've just given up on society. You just don't give a shit. And maybe that's your choice. Maybe it's not. That's the only two. Sorry, that's the opinion of ISO Buddies. And it's opinion. It's an opinion. It's a judgment. Sorry, guys. No, I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool that they just let you be you.
Yeah, so, no, I appreciate it for sure. I mean, I know a lot of other places would be like, oh, you can't do that. And be like, crap, can't be emo. That sucks.
Yeah. Because I feel like traditionally it's been like a really conservative profession. Like you see the people with like, the girls all have like a tight ponytail and the guys all have like shaved face and the, hair like mine almost, not as good as mine, but that length at most. In the last few years, I've been seeing like long haired dudes and women with way too much jewelry, and you see the visible tattoos. And
yeah,
I don't know. I'm an old guy, so like that's all new to me. That's all like new stuff. It was scandalous when I was a kid. Like that would have been a big deal if you were a woman with tattoos all down her arm. People would be like, "What's your deal?" They would make a lot of judgments right away that were not flattering. But again, if you were in that era and you had the tattoos, like you don't care what people think. Like you're your own person, which I think is amazing. I think that now. It's not as open-minded. But yeah, I think it's great that they just let you be who you are. I thought they would have the most problem with the nail polish. But
yeah, no, they're actually, believe it or not, that's like, they're definitely all for that. I remember like when I came in, I was like, yeah, dude, I'm emo again. And they were like, yo, that's so cool. I'm like, okay, yeah, you do you. I mean, I'm
emo again.
Yeah, well, because I used to paint them all the time, and I was like, I should do it again.
I'm emo again.
Yeah,
it's my calling. It's my calling.
Yeah, it's who I am, bro.
I can't deny it anymore. I'm emo, bro. No, that's awesome. So, guys, if you're, on the other side of normal, go be a zookeeper. I think a lot of us already are. Anybody on this channel or watching this channel is probably on the other side of normal. I mean, people that keep bugs in shoeboxes. You keep animals too. What are you keeping right now?
I have mostly a lot of reptiles and bugs too. Like obviously, I still got like all my isopod colonies, tarantulas, and then just random reptiles. I got a couple tortoises, a couple lizards, ball pythons, stuff like that.
All right, cool. I might contact you about setting up. I put something in ISO Buddies today. I'm going to take a 125 and turn it into a paludarium, open top paludarium. No. So I might be contacting you for like materials that I, recommendations and stuff like that. And design recommendations maybe. So, because you're involved in that a little bit, so you'd have more knowledge than me off the top of your head, or be able to contact you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be an ant. It's going to be this colony is going to upgrade into that, and then underneath will be fish and newts.
That's gonna be dope.
I sure hope so. I have some high hopes, but I will actually be reaching out to you for that. So be ready for that conversation.
Oh yeah.
All right. Sure. Or maybe even a get together, a meet and greet. So
of course.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on. I know I take up a lot of people's time, a lot of their time.
My pleasure, man. Seriously. Thanks for having me.
Always. I always try to bring people on. So that I think have interesting things to say. So, and I think at least for 4 people, you totally did. We had the same 4 viewers the entire episode. So, so that's good.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, guys. Thank you for coming. I'm going to kick you out and then talk to these guys for a minute about giving me money.
All right. Good.
Have a good one, Luke. Thanks again for coming on. I'll be in touch.
Have a good night.
I have to lean this far to get you out of here. All right. Boop. Guys, that was Luke Guzelis. I don't know if I should be giving out his last name, but I'm Josh Winterfeld. I'm not Johannes Washington, just so you know. So that's an alibi. Or not an alibi, an alias. I'm not good at crimes yet. So thanks for the great stream comment, Guy Bob. Are you new? Is Guy Bob new? Or a different name? Are you signed in on a different account? Here's my credit card number. Yeah, we'll take it, Beetle. So yeah, again, Patreon, you don't get a whole lot for being a Patreon, except knowing that sometimes you get a sneak peek. Like they knew who the guest list was for the 100th episode before you guys tuned in. That's when you found out. So am I still on? Yeah. So the Patreon is just the fact that you're supporting the show. So, well, welcome to the show, Guy Bob. We'll take creepers. So I appreciate that everybody's been watching for the hour and a half. Yeah, we don't have a lot of creepers. A lot of people are engaged. So some people more than others, some people too much. Okay. No, you're doing fine. I'm teasing. I like to mess with my audience, as you can tell, more than anybody else. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, do all that stuff. I'm going to put a link to Brookfield Zoo because I know zoos, some people have issues with zoos. I'm a fan of the right zoos, and I think Brookfield, they're in the top 10 zoos in the United States on several rankings. So I think they're basically number 10 on most rankings, but I'll take it. So they do have some work to do as far as like innovations and stuff and building some new enclosures. But I know times have been tough lately. But yeah, Luke works there. If you go, look out for Luke. He's in the children's zoo now. He might not be by the time you get there. Everybody's expected at IsoBuddies, even creepers. Yes, you're accepted. You're accepted. So yeah, next week, again, I don't know who we have on next week. I think it's Jose Avila from the Bug Hub, but I'll have to double check. So we have a couple guests lined up. So late November, we're going to have a falconer on. We're going to talk to her either about her parrots or her falcons that she works with. I believe she works at a zoo as well. She's always posting really cool things. Her name's Hayden. I've been trying to get her on the show forever. So she's updating her falconry license because apparently if you're an apprentice, you can't talk about falconry in an educational sense at all. Not that this show's educational, but apparently not even in an entertainment sense. You could lose your license. So obviously we don't want that. She doesn't want that. So yeah, so we're going to have that on. I'm excited for that because it's a new guest and it's a new topic. I've been trying to get birds on forever, even though we had Coral Bee talk about parakeets. Like, that was cool. But yeah, falcons would be awesome. But I think either way, we're going to talk about training birds. I don't know that we'll have a bird on screen because it's late and birds go to sleep. So anyway, we're going to do birds. We'll probably talk about falcons. But anyway, I think next week is Jose Avila from Bug Hub, and we're going to talk about innovations. If it's not him, we are going to talk to him the week after. So I'm not 100% sure who the next guest is. I got to get better at that. So anyway, guys, we're always improving. Expect new lights next week. They're coming tomorrow. So they got postponed. I'm getting new lights for this area because the lighting has been crap since we moved into this area and got the curtains and everything. So anyway, I'll let you guys go. Love you. Thank you so much for watching. It feels so great to have people actually show up to listen to the dumb stuff that comes out of my mouth. So have a great day. And let's talk about homing bugs. What? Homing bugs? Oh, like homing pigeons? I get it. I get it. I thought you meant like putting them in setups or something. So yeah, it makes me feel really good. And I know I could do better at engaging with my audience who's over there. It's hard to do that and have a live interview at the same time. And I'm glad you guys understand it. I do what I can. And it takes me way out of the actual conversation to engage. I get too distracted too easy. It's a weakness. Know your weaknesses. I don't know what we're going to try next week. I haven't found a new snack, but we'll figure something out. Guys, have a great week. If we don't see you next week, have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great Halloween first. So we'll talk to you later. All right. Love you guys all the time so much.